My brother burying 200,000 in the backyard.
It was wrapped in plastic, like sandwich bags. Each 1,000, we had it wrapped up. And I'm digging for hours and hours, pulling my hair out because I'm not hitting the safe. You know, I'm praying like, man, finally I hit. And when I open it, it's filled up with water.
Before we get into this, I need you to understand something. This man was out here moving weight in the streets, running $100,000 DVD operations, and building an empire long before most people even knew his name. Black Sam, Nipsey Hussle's older brother, a street legend in his own right. But here's what's crazy. While most people who came up the way he did even ended up locked up or on the ground, Sam is out here in 2026, living a lifestyle that will make your jaw drop. Custom whips, iced out chains, a burger spot that turned into a full-blown business empire. And it all started from nothing, literally selling bootleg DVDs out the trunk of a car in Crenshaw. So, the question is, how did a street hustler from South Central Los Angeles go from moving product on the block to sitting on millions? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how Black Sam built his empire, why Nipsey's death changed everything for his business, and what his life actually looks like in 2026. This one's going to be a story you don't want to miss. Alright, so let's start from the beginning, because you can't understand what Black Sam is today without understanding where he came from. Black Sam, real name Samuel M. Asghedom, was born and raised in the Crenshaw district of South Los Angeles, California. For those of y'all that don't know, Crenshaw ain't just a neighborhood. It's a culture. It's a whole way of life, filled with resilience, creativity, and that unbreakable grind that defines so many success stories from these blocks. Growing up out there in the late 80s and 90s, you were surrounded by hustle on every level. Some of that hustle was legal, a lot of it wasn't. And if you grew up without money, without resources, without somebody handing you a roadmap out, you figured it out the best way you knew how, learning to navigate the pressures of the streets while holding on to dreams that felt bigger than your circumstances. Sam is the older brother of the late great Ermias Asghedom, the man the world came to know as Nipsey Hussle. Their family had Eritrean roots on their father's side, and that African heritage gave both brothers a certain kind of pride and work ethic that you can trace through everything they did later in life, from the way they carried themselves with dignity to the relentless drive that pushed them forward no matter the obstacles. But pride and work ethic don't pay bills when you're a young kid in South Central with limited options in front of you. Growing up, Sam was the big brother, and in environments like Crenshaw, being the big brother means something deep. You set the tone. You show the younger ones how to move. You figure things out first so they don't have to, shouldering responsibilities that would break most adults, all while trying to carve out a path worth following. That dynamic between Sam and Nipsey wasn't just typical brotherly love. It was a real partnership from day one. These two weren't just siblings. They were a team, bonded by blood, shared struggles, and a mutual understanding of the world they were born into. And the streets of Crenshaw, that was their classroom. Everything they learned about loyalty, about reading people, about protecting what's yours and building from nothing, they learned it right there on those very blocks. No shortcuts, no handouts, just life coming at you full speed and figuring out how to handle it with nothing but heart and hustle. Now, here's where the story gets real interesting, because a lot of people hear the name Black Sam and they associate it immediately with Nipsey Hussle. But Sam was putting in work long before his little brother ever picked up a microphone. When Sam was coming up, he was already tapped into the hustle mentality. This wasn't a dude who was waiting around for opportunity to knock on his door. He was out there creating his own lanes, spotting gaps in the market that others overlooked and turning them into gold mines through sheer determination and street smarts. And one of the first real lanes he found was DVDs. Now I know what some of y'all are thinking. DVDs? That doesn't sound like no empire. But hold on, because you need to understand the era we're talking about. This is early to mid-2000s Los Angeles. Streaming doesn't exist yet. Netflix was still mailing discs in red envelopes. If you wanted to watch the latest movies without paying full price for a ticket or a retail copy, you were buying bootlegs. And bootleg DVDs were moving in the hood like water, flying off the shelves faster than anyone could predict. Sam recognized that demand before most people. He set up shop and started pushing copied movies on the streets of Crenshaw. And when his little brother Nipsey was old enough, Sam put him on. That's just what you do when you're the big brother and you got something going. You bring family in, share the knowledge, and build together so nobody gets left behind. So now you got these two young Asghedom brothers out here. Sam running the operation like a seasoned CEO, Nippy learning the ropes quick, moving DVDs out of trunks at swap meets, on corners, anywhere they could find a customer, and they weren't making chump change either. We're talking about an operation that at its height was generating hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not a few thousand, not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Think about that for a second. These were teenagers and young men with no college degrees, no investors, no venture capital, just raw hustle, street intelligence, and a product the community wanted. They built a cash business from the ground up, with nothing but grind, learning supply chains on the fly, managing risks from competitors and authorities, and reinvesting every dollar to scale up. That early experience taught Sam something that a lot of entrepreneurs spend years in business school trying to learn: how to identify demand, how to move product, how to manage cash flow, and how to operate in a competitive market without any of the traditional safety nets. He just learned it on the streets of South Central instead of in the classroom. And that foundation, that's what everything else got built on, shaping his mindset for every future venture and teaching him the value of adaptability in a changing world. Now here's where the two brothers' paths start to diverge a little bit. And I say a little bit because even when they went in different directions, they never really separated. That's just how tight Sam and Nippy were, always checking in, always supporting each other's moves. As the mid-2000s rolled in, Nippy started getting serious about music. And I mean serious. He wasn't just freestyling at parties or recording for fun. Nippy had a vision. He understood early on that the music industry was changing, that artists could build independent empires if they were smart about it. He was studying the game at the same time he was playing it, analyzing deals, building his brand, and staying true to his roots. And when Nippy shifted his energy toward music full-time, Sam had a choice to make. He could keep running the DVD operation, which was still making money, or he could pivot and figure out his next move. Because here's the thing about the bootleg DVD hustle: it had an expiration date. Streaming was coming. The internet was changing everything. Anybody with any foresight could see that the physical disc business wasn't going to last forever. Sam had that foresight in spades. While Nippy was building his name in the music world, dropping mixtapes, building his marathon brand, establishing himself as one of the most respected independent artists in the game, Sam started thinking bigger. He started thinking about legitimate business, about putting roots down in the community they both came from. And one of the first things he decided to do was open a restaurant. Now on the surface, that might sound like a random move, but when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Sam had spent years running the cash operation. He understood how to manage a business. He understood Crenshaw, understood what the community needed and what it would support. A burger spot in the hood wasn't just a business decision, it was a statement. It was saying, I'm investing back into the place that raised me, giving back while creating opportunities for others in the process. So that's exactly what he did. Sam opened up his burger restaurant, and from jump, it wasn't just a place to eat. It became a spot, a community fixture in neighborhoods like Crenshaw. When somebody from the block opens a business, it means something different than it does in other parts of the city. It means somebody who looks like you, who grew up like you, who knows what you've been through, that made it far enough to build something with 4 walls and a sign on the door. People from the community came out to support because they knew Sam, they knew the family. They knew the Asgadom name and they respected what it represented. Nippy by this point was well on his way to becoming a legend in LA. So, the fact that his older brother was out here building a legitimate business only added to the credibility Sam already had from his years in the streets. The food was good, the location was right, the vibe was authentic. And Sam was grinding on the business side the same way he used to grind on the block. Consistent, strategic, and with his whole chest. He wasn't halfway in. When Sam commits to something, he goes all the way, pouring his soul into every detail from menu development to customer service standards. The burger spot started gaining traction. Word was spreading. Revenue was coming in. Sam was learning the restaurant business in real time, figuring out staffing, supply chains, customer service, all the things that come with running a food operation. It wasn't overnight success, but it was progress. Real, tangible progress. And then on March 31st, 2019, everything changed. Nippy Hussle was shot and killed in front of his own store, Marathon Clothing on Slauson Avenue in Los Angeles. He was 33 years old. The world stopped. Not just the hip-hop world, the whole world. Nippy had become more than a rapper. By that point, he was a community leader, a visionary and activist, a blueprint for how you could come from the bottom and build something meaningful without compromising who you are. His death sent shockwaves through South Central, through LA, through the entire culture, leaving a void that still echoes today. For Sam, it was personal in a way that most people can't even comprehend. This wasn't just losing a public figure, this was losing his little brother, his partner, the same person he used to run DVDs with, the same person he brought up in the game, the same person he spent his entire life being the big brother to. That loss was incalculable, hitting him with waves of grief that tested every ounce of his strength. But Sam did what he's always done. He kept moving. Now I want to be careful here because I'm not saying Sam profited off his brother's death in some cold-blooded way. That's not what happened, and that's not the story. What happened was something more organic than that. Something rooted in community, loyalty, and the way people expressed grief by showing up for the ones still standing. After Nippy passed, people who loved him, and that was a lot of people, started looking for ways to keep his legacy alive. They started supporting the businesses and the people connected to him. They visited the Marathon Clothing. They streamed his music. They showed love to his family, and a significant portion of that love flowed directly towards Sam and his burger spot. People started coming out in droves. Fans of Nippy who had never heard of Sam's restaurant before were now pulling up just to support, just to feel connected to something that Nippy was connected to. The foot traffic exploded. Sales went up dramatically. What had been a steadily growing local business suddenly had a platform that extended far beyond Crenshaw, and Sam was smart enough to leverage that moment correctly. He didn't just collect the money and keep it moving. He reinvested. He expanded. He used the increased revenue and visibility to level up the operation, improve quality, and build the brand further. He understood that the wave of support wasn't going to last forever if he didn't build something sustainable on top of it. That's that business intelligence talking. The same intelligence he developed back when he was running a six-figure DVD operation as a teenager. Sam has always known how to take an opportunity and maximize it. The circumstances were tragic, but his response was professional, disciplined, and calculated. Over time, the burger spot became more than just a burger spot. It became a monument in the community. A place people came to not just because the food was good, but because of what it represented. A tangible piece of a legacy, a reminder that the marathon continues. A proof of concept that brothers from Crenshaw could build something real and lasting. And as the business grew, so did Sam's profile. He wasn't just Nippy's brother anymore. He was becoming known in his own right as a businessman, an entrepreneur, someone who had taken everything life threw at him and turned it into fuel. All right, so let's fast forward to where Sam is right now in 2026. Because this is where the story gets fun. Because Black Sam is not living like somebody who's just getting by. He is not driving a regular car and counting pennies. Bro is out here living like the streets always promised you could if you made the right moves and survived long enough to collect. Let's talk about the cars first, because the whips are a whole chapter on their own. Sam has been seen pushing some serious metal. We're talking about luxury vehicles that most people only see in music videos. The kind of cars that make you stop and stare when they roll down the block. High-end foreign cars, custom paint jobs, the whole nine. And we're not talking about one car either. Sam has a whole collection. Different cars for different moves, different occasions, different statements. That's what real money looks like. Not just one nice thing, but options. The ability to choose. Growing up in South Central, a nice car has always been a symbol that carries weight. It means you made it. It means all that sacrifice, all that grind. All those early mornings and late nights actually produce something tangible. When you see Sam pull up, you understand immediately that this is not a man who's been sitting still. And it's not just about showing off, though. I mean, let's be real. A little flexing is well earned at this point after decades of proving himself. It's also about representation. When a dude from Crenshaw who used to hustle DVDs to survive is now pulling up in six-figure vehicles, that sends a message to every young kid in that same zip code. It says the outcome doesn't have to be a cell or a casket. There's another option, one built on vision and perseverance. Now the jewelry, y'all know Sam ain't slipping in the chain department. We're talking about pieces that would make a jeweler's eyes water. Custom chains, heavy pendants, iced out timepieces. Sam moves like a man who knows the value of looking like what he's built. The jewelry isn't random either. A lot of the pieces Sam wears carry meaning. There are tributes to Nippy and his jewelry collection. Pieces that keep his brother's image and legacy close, literally worn over his heart. That's not just a flex. That's love. That's grief turned into gold. A daily reminder of the bond that time can't break. Sam has also been seen with other high-end accessories, designer fits, exclusive sneakers, the kind of wardrobe that you don't put together without serious disposable income, and a real sense of style that reflects his evolution from street hustler to polished mogul. He moves through the world now with a certain kind of presence that you can't fake and you can't buy overnight. It comes from decades of carrying yourself with dignity, even when the circumstances said otherwise, facing down challenges that would have derailed lesser men. Now let's talk about something that a lot of people overlook when they discuss Black Sam, and that's how he moves on social media. Because in 2026, your online presence is an extension of your brand. And Sam understands that better than most. He's not out here posting every 5 minutes or doing the most for attention. Sam moves with intention on social media the same way he moves in real life. Calculated, deliberate, and always with purpose. When he posts, people pay attention. Whether it's a photo next to one of his whips, a clip from inside the restaurant, or a tribute post for Nippy on an anniversary, every piece of content Sam puts out carries weight. He's built a following that's deeply loyal. People who aren't just fans of his name, but fans of what he represents. And that loyalty translates directly into business. Every time Sam shows up online, it drives traffic, it drives sales, it drives conversations. In today's economy, that kind of organic influence is worth serious money. Brands know it, collaborators know it. And Sam knows it too, he doesn't waste it. What's interesting is that Sam never chased the internet came to him. That's a distinction most people never get to make, and it says everything about the kind of authenticity he's operated with his entire life. And here's something else worth understanding about where Sam is in 2026. His day-to-day life looks nothing like the come-up. Back in the DVD days, every morning started with uncertainty. Would the product move? Would you run into the wrong people? Would today be a good day or a bad one? That was the grind. Unpredictable, high risk, high reward. Now Sam wakes up with infrastructure behind him. He's got staff handling the restaurant. He's got systems in place. He's got revenue coming in from multiple directions without him having to be on a corner to make it happen. That's the difference between hustling for money and building something that works for you. It took decades to get there, but that's exactly where Sam sits today. He can move through his day with the level of freedom that street money never gave him, because street money is always one bad day away from disappearing. What Sam has built is different. It's durable, it compounds. And in 2026, that's what real wealth looks like. He's gone from reacting to his circumstances to designing them. And that shift right there is the real definition of making it. Something else that gets talked about when people in LA speak on Black Sam is the way Crenshaw itself has embraced him as one of its own success stories. Not just because of Nippy, but because Sam showed up and stayed. A lot of people from the hood who make money eventually dip. They move to the hills, they move out of state, they distance themselves from where they came from. Sam didn't do that. He stayed planted in the community, kept pouring into it, kept showing his face, kept making sure the neighborhood that built him got something back from the empire he was building. That kind of loyalty doesn't go unnoticed on the block. The OGs respect it, the young ones study it, and the community at large holds him up as proof that you don't have to abandon where you're from in order to level up. You can bring the block with you. That's a different kind of rich, and it's one that no price tag can ever fully capture. But here's what separates Black Sam from just being a guy who made some money and bought nice things. The man has been building continuously. Even as the lifestyle got bigger, the business foundation underneath it has been getting stronger. The burger spot was just the beginning. Sam has been expanding his entrepreneurial footprint in multiple directions. And in 2026, what he's put together is a genuine enterprise. This isn't one restaurant surviving on nostalgia and community goodwill. This is a businessman who has studied his market, identified opportunities, and executed flawlessly time and again. Sam has leaned into the brand recognition that comes with his name and his family's legacy. In Los Angeles, particularly in the Black community, the Asgadom name opens doors. It carries history and credibility and emotion. Sam has been intentional about channeling that into legitimate business ventures that serve the community while also generating serious revenue. Think about the full picture of what he's built. A food business that survived and thrived during one of the most turbulent periods in recent memory. a personal brand that resonates with a massive and loyal fan base, and the kind of reputation in the streets and in legitimate business circles that money alone can't buy. Sam has both the respect of people who know where he came from and the credibility of someone who has successfully crossed over into legitimate enterprise. And the money is real. When you combine the revenue from the food business, the brand deals, the appearances, and whatever other ventures Sam has in the mix like potential real estate plays or merchandise lines tied to the marathon spirit, you're looking at a man who has accumulated generational wealth from a starting point of zero. From bootleg DVDs on a Crenshaw corner to a millionaire lifestyle in 2026. That's not luck, that's architecture. He built this thing brick by brick, learning from every setback, celebrating every win, and staying grounded through it all. Now we can't talk about Black Sam without talking about what he's done to keep Nip's legacy alive, because that's been one of the central missions of his life since March of 2019. Sam has been one of the most visible and consistent figures when it comes to honoring and preserving everything Nippy built. Whether it's participating in anniversary events, speaking at community gatherings, mentoring young entrepreneurs, or simply showing up in Crenshaw representing, Sam has never let people forget. And that's not just because Nippy was his brother. It's because Sam understands what Nippy represented and what would be lost if that representation faded. Nippy Hustle was proof that you could come from the bottom in South Central, maintain your authenticity, invest in your community, build an independent empire, and become a global figure doing it all on your own terms. That message doesn't just belong to hip-hop fans. It belongs to every young person in Crenshaw, in Compton, and every underserved community across America who needs to see what's possible. Sam carries that torch. He does it by being visible, by being successful, by being present in the community, and by being someone the next generation can point to and say, look, it's possible. Sam came up the same way Nippy did. He faced the same obstacles, ran the same streets, made a lot of the same choices, and he came through it. He built something. He survived and thrived. There's also something deeply symbolic about the fact that it's Sam, the big brother, who's still here, still standing, still building. Nippy was always the one who talked about the marathon, about staying the course, about playing the long game. And in a real sense, Sam is living proof that the marathon was never just a metaphor. It was a blueprint. Every time Sam pulls up to an event, every time he's photographed in that jewelry, every time someone walks into his restaurant and sees the pictures on the wall and feels that connection to something bigger than just a meal, Nippy lives in that moment. Sam is making sure of it through quiet acts of service and loud declarations of legacy that inspire countless others to keep pushing. If you step back and look at the full arc of Sam's life, it's genuinely remarkable. This is a man who grew up with real, limited options, who figured out how to make money in the streets because that was the available lane, who ran a $100,000 underground economy with his younger brother when most kids his age were worried about homework, who transitioned out of that life when the game changed, when his family grew, when he realized he needed to build something with longer legs. He opened a business in the community that raised him. He grinded in a restaurant game, which, let me tell you, is not easy. The restaurant business is brutal. Most restaurants fail within the first year. The margins are thin. The labor is hard. The variables are constant. Sam had no formal culinary training, no hospitality school background. He just had that same street-level business intelligence he'd always had, combined with the discipline to learn a new game, adapting to economic shifts, pandemics, and changing customer tastes along the way. And then his world got flipped upside down when Nippy died. He lost his brother. He lost his closest collaborator. He lost a person who had been his partner through every major chapter of his life. Most people in that situation would fold. The grief alone would be enough to take somebody out. But Sam didn't fold. He channeled. He used the pain as motivation. He used the community's love as fuel. He let Nippy's legacy be the wind at his back instead of a weight on his chest. And now in 2026, he's sitting on an empire, a real one built over decades of sacrifice, adaptation, and relentless forward motion. The cars aren't just cars. The chains aren't just jewelry. They're trophies. They're proof of concept. What it looks like when somebody from the bottom refuses to accept that the bottom is where the story ends. Black Sam's story doesn't fit neatly into the categories people usually use when they talk about street legends turned businessman. He's not a cautionary tale. He's not a redemption arc. He's something more complicated and more interesting than either of those things. He's a man who lived his whole life in full. The streets, the hustle, the loss, the grief, the grind, the building, the success, and came out the other side still standing, still moving, still representing. And in 2026, the lifestyle he's living is a direct reflection of all of that. Every piece of jewelry tells a story. Every car is a chapter. Every dollar that comes through his business is a vote of confidence from a community that watched him come up from nothing and decided he was worth investing in. There's a generation of young men in Crenshaw and neighborhoods just like it who are watching Black Sam right now. Not just because of the flex, though the flex is real and is earned, but because of what he represents. He represents the possibility that you can come from where they come from, go through what they've been through, lose what he's lost, and still build something that lasts. Think about the full journey one more time. The teenager running bootleg DVDs with his little brother. The man who had the vision to go legit before the streets forced the issue. The businessman who absorbed the worst grief imaginable and turned it into rocket fuel. And the millionaire in 2026 who still shows up in the same neighborhood he started in. That is not a story you hear every day. That is not a path most people find. And the fact that Sam found it and is still walking it means something far bigger than any one video can do justice to. But at the very least, now you know that's the real millionaire lifestyle of Black Sam. It ain't just the cars and the chains though. Those are nice. It's the fact that a dude who started with bootleg DVDs and a vision is now a genuine businessman, a community icon, and a living testament to his brother's favorite word. Marathon. Not a sprint, not a shortcut, a marathon. Sam has been running his since day one, and in 2026, he ain't close to the finish line. Long live Nippy, and long may Sam continue to inspire, build, and show the world what true endurance looks like. This kind of story reminds us all that with the right mindset, even the hardest beginnings can lead to extraordinary endings. Proving that legacy isn't just about what you leave behind, but how you keep it alive every single day.